Hello, in this video I'll teach you React together with Redux from scratch. I'll cover basically everything there is to know to be able to develop with React, so like and subscribe and let's get to it. In this video I want to go over some Visual Studio Code extensions I'll be using which I think are important, and also some Chrome extensions for React, and after that I'll go through all the extensions I have for VS Code in case you're interested, but you don't have to watch that part if you don't care, that's fine. And you will also be able to download course files and links to Git repos in this video. So anyway, let me show you the essential extensions for this course. So first of all, I have this React, let me search for it, it's this extension right here. Okay, so this one is pretty important. It has the snippets and so on, makes it really easy to create components, so I highly recommend you get this extension if you are using Visual Studio Code. Next, it's ESLint. So this one will really help you when working with React. I highly recommend it, it's really good. It will help you catch bugs and so on. Just make you a better programmer basically. So it's not really a must, but it is pretty helpful. And also this prettier extension I'm using as well for the code formatting. So again, this isn't really necessary, but it's pretty good. You might want to get it. And also I have this setting, so if I go to press F1 here and go to preferences, user settings JSON, here it is actually, so editor format on save, and now whenever I save a file it's gonna get formatted, okay, which is pretty handy. And the final thing also, which isn't necessary but really good, it's Codium. Let me see, here it is right here. Okay, so this is a free AI and it's really good, guys. I do hope you get it. It will help you ease the pain of typing a lot. So I'm gonna be using it throughout the course. It's free, you do need to register for it and then get some token, but it's free, so you just get it and use it. And it's available for many editors and IDEs, actually not just VS Code, so I am gonna be using this one. Okay, that's it for VS Code for the main extensions, and also in Chrome I have these extensions for React, so React Developer Tools, which is pretty handy to see components and so on. It's not really necessary, but it can be useful if you have many components and you don't know what's what. And also Redux DevTools, which is for Redux, and you can see your states, their actions and so on. So I do recommend you get these two as well, though they are not necessary whatsoever. Okay, that's it for the main ones, and now I'm gonna go through my other VS Code extensions in case you're interested. If you're not, simply skip to the next video. So let me see what I have here. Let me just start at the beginning. Okay, so this all autocomplete is pretty useful. Auto rename tag is pretty useful as well. Let's see, bookmarks, I don't use that much, but it can be useful. This code autocomplete, as it says here, is the unofficial tab 9 client, so all language autocomplete, it does something. Here's Codium, I covered that. Colonize, it adds semicolons at the end of new lines and optionally new line after, as you can see right here, but Prettier kind of takes care of that as well, but I have it. Let's see what else is useful. Here's that React, the important one. ESLint, okay. Get history is pretty good. VS Code has its own get history, but I actually use this one. I prefer it, so you might want to check it out. It makes it really easy to view your commits and so on, jump to wherever you want. So it's by this guy here, okay. Highlight matching tag, okay, this one is good as well. HTML CSS support, I guess this is Emmet. I've had this for a while, so that's a good one as well. Let's see. Here's Prettier. Okay, I covered that. This REST client is actually kind of important for this course because I'll be using it to test REST requests, API requests, that is when we get to that part in the products. You can also use Postman or something else, but I'm going to be using this one, but I will mention this, of course, when I actually do use it. So with this, you can make API requests from inside Visual Studio Code, which is actually amazing. So here's tab 9, the free version, which hopefully does something as well. And that's it. These two can be useful. I don't have them enabled for this course, but this console ninja, it outputs, actually you get the console logs inside here, inside the editor, inside the files. And this inline fold is pretty useful. For example, if you have many CSS classes added, you can just fold them. Okay, but I'm not going to have that enabled for the course because I want you to see everything. Okay guys, that's gonna be it for this one. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, so here I am in this React course folder I created, and I'm gonna have all my products in here. So for this first one, I am going to right click and create a new folder and call it React for Beginners. Okay, and I'm gonna go into it, right click, git bash here, and code dot to open it in Visual Studio. Okay, here I am. So now I'm gonna press Ctrl J and go here to my terminal, and I am using git bash here as the default. Okay, so you might have command prompt, for example, if you're on Windows, I set this to default, and if you have something else, just choose it here. Okay, so anyway, in here to create a React app, we can do it in two ways. I can say npx create React app, okay, but that's the old way, and I'm not gonna use that. I'm gonna use Vite, which is the recommended way, and it's better. It does take a bit more configuration, but nothing special, and it's just better and recommended. Okay, so to create my React app using Vite, I'm gonna say npm create Vite and dot, so that it's created inside of this folder. Okay, and now I have to choose what I want to create. So pressing down, and I'm gonna go for create for React, and I'm gonna use plain JavaScript. Okay, and there we go. So we have this now, and we need to install the dependencies, of course. So I'm gonna say npm I. Okay, there we go. And now to actually run this, I am going to say npm run dev, and I get this. So if I control click in here, here is my application running. Okay, so hopefully you see this as well. Let's now go through the files and see what we have here. So we have the node modules, and after that we have the public folder with the favicon. Okay, so the usual public folder, and then we have the source folder, and this is where the action happens. So right now we have this assets folder, which contains just this React image, and we have the main JSX file, and this is the main file of the application. Let me get rid of this, okay, and Control S or save just to format everything. So we have here this create root, which takes this element by ID of root. And this actually is coming from this index HTML, okay, that's outside the source folder. So this one right here. And also it's JSX and not JS because these are actually React files. Even though these can be JS, but it's better to name them JSX. So for example, if you use the create React app to create this application, you would have just JS files, which you could then rename to JSX, but with Vite, it's all set up as it should. Okay, so here we have these imports. Let's see what they are. The CSS files obviously are just CSS, but this app JSX is the main component basically. So in React, we think in terms of components, and each function is a component. So as you can see here, this is just a function. Nothing special about it, but it returns JSX, and that's what is special about it. Okay. Of course, if you're seeing this for the first time, it might be a bit confusing, but you will understand everything as we move along. So just to recap, these are just basic functions, okay? And now let's actually get rid of some stuff here. So we don't actually need the CSS files, so I'm just gonna delete that. And the index file, I'm gonna leave it actually because I prefer to leave it in case I want to change something, but I'm gonna Control A and get rid of everything in here. Okay, and we have auto refresh, so hopefully we should see here that this looks different. At least I believe it does. Let's see now. Let's get rid of everything from here, and then it should definitely look different. So I'm going to click here just to collapse this whole thing and just get rid of that. And this as well actually, and we'll just have a P here and say hello. Okay. And get rid of this as well and everything from here. So I just have this, and that should do it. Let's see. And now I just have hello here. Okay. And the final thing I want to do is, in this video that is to add Bootstrap. Okay, so we can use npm to install Bootstrap and then import it, but also we can just use this index.html file. Okay, so first of all here I am going to change the title, and notice here it says Vite plus React, right? I'm going to change the title to React for Beginners. And I'm gonna actually just include Bootstrap here using the CDN links. Okay, it's the easiest way, and why not just do it? So I'm gonna go to get Bootstrap website and CDN links here, and here they are. So let me just copy this and have that link here and paste the href, so hopefully that will work, and get the JS file as well. Not sure we really need it, but why not? So script and source and paste that, and let's see now if that actually works. So if I right click here and go to inspect, and if I go here to, let's see, network, and let me F5 to refresh, and just go to CSS files. Here's my Bootstrap file. Okay, and JS, hopefully it's here somewhere, and here it is as well. So all that is working fine. Okay, great. Let's now have a look at this app JSX file, and let me right click and just close others like so. Okay, so this is basically the most basic React component you can have. Again, this is just a function that returns something, which is JSX actually, which is special to React, but still it's just a function, and it's then exported here. Okay, and by the way, these are called functional components because there are also class components, but class components are the old way of creating components. They're not used anymore, shouldn't be used, and I'm not going to show you how to use class components because they are just redundant. Okay, this is the way to go. So again, this file that is a JSX file, and it can be a JS file, but it's a JSX file, which is a better naming convention, which means it actually returns JSX. Okay, so what we see here is actually JSX. It's not HTML, even though it's nearly identical, but it's not HTML. So all these tags, this can be a div, and we see it here, it's still working. These are JSX tags, okay? And the way this return works is if you just return a one-liner like this, this works, but if you want to return something more, so let's say I have two P's here, so hello and one more P. Okay, and now you see I get a red squiggly here, and if I hover over it, it says here JSX expressions must have one parent element. So you always have to have a parent element if it's not a one-liner basically, or just one element. Okay, so this can be anything. It can be, for example, a div, like so. And notice now if I save this, again I have an error because VS Code put the semicolon here, okay? But actually, if you have multiple lines, you're supposed to have parentheses, like so. So if I save now, it's all good, okay? So if you have multiple lines, you need to have parentheses. If it's a one-liner, you don't need to have parentheses. And you don't always want a div here, or this can be anything. It can be a table or whatever, okay? Just a parent element. But sometimes you don't want an actual element, you just want a wrapper. And in that case, you can use this fragment that exists in JSX. So it's this and this, okay? If I have a look here, I do get my two P's here and the semicolon, which is here for some reason again, okay? So here they are. If I right-click inspect, I can see my two P's here. And all of this is inside the root, right? Which is in this index.html. So there's a div right here. But we don't think about this div. It's just a container, the ultimate container basically. But we don't take it into account. We do all our stuff in the components, okay? So again, this is very similar to HTML, but it's not HTML. So some things aren't the same. For example, let's say I want to use a class here. And let me just have an h1, for example, and say hello Vite. Okay, whatever. I thought it was going to be world, but it's Vite. And this is Codium helping out basically. So it really helps reduce the pain of typing. And let's say now I want to have a class here, so I want to use a bootstrap class text center. Okay, so I say here class text center, okay, and I have a red squiggly here, but let's ignore that and just go here, and it works. Okay, it does work, but you can see here that I have an error, and if I go to console here, it says here invalid DOM property class. Did you mean class name? Okay, because in JSX we actually use class name because class is a reserved JavaScript keyword. That's the issue here. Okay, So actually, I'm gonna have this as class name with the capital N here. And now it still works, but let me just refresh, but there's no error. Okay. So as you can see, this really isn't HTML. Okay. And the last thing I want to do in this video, even though it's not a necessity for you, I am going to initialize a Git repo because there isn't one. With Create React App, there is a Git repo. With Vite, there isn't, which is actually better in my opinion. So anyway, I'm just going to go here in my VS Code, initialize repository, and I'm not going to be doing this on video anymore, but I will do a commit after each video. So you can, of course, get the project on GitHub and then get to any point you want if you want to see code at that point. Okay, so for this one, I'm just going to say here initial, commit, and great, it's all good. Since React works based on components, these components need to somehow be included. So the way we include them is if we go to the main JSX file here, we can see this app here. Okay, so this is how we include components, and we have the import here. So simply the name of the app, as if it were a HTML element basically, or something like that. Okay, and this React strict mode, it's for development only, and you should leave it there because it helps with the debugging and stuff. The only kind of an issue with it is that if you console log something, you get a double result, but again, that's only in development. That wouldn't happen in production. So if I go to app.js, the app component file that is, and when I'm returning something here, this is a JSX, but because this is just a JavaScript function, here I can have any code I want. Okay, so I can console log here hello world, for example, and if I go to my app now here, you can see here I get this double result. Okay, and if I remove strict mode, I just get the one result. So this is a bit annoying, but nothing special, and again, you should have this as so, because again, this only functions in development. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. In this app.jsx file, because functions are components in React, we can actually create functions in here and include them, for example, in the main component, which is the app component right here. So this isn't something you would usually do. Usually you just have one file for one component, but I just want to show you what's possible and how it works. So let's create a function called header here. Okay, and it's gonna return, let's see, and I got help from Codium there, so I just tabbed. I usually just tab and then fix it just to get some code written. So this will be actually not a div but a header, and here I'm gonna say React for beginners. Okay, so if I go here now, let's see, the problem here is, okay, now it's fine. This red squiggle is because it's not being used, but here I still have the same thing, and let me just clear the console here. So to actually see this or to include it in my return in the app function here, I'm going to first of all have a div with the class of container. Okay, so a bootstrap class, and now add header like so. So this is the same way as it's being used here. Okay. And the only difference is that here we have this import, but here, because the function is in the same file, we don't need to import it. So now here it is, React for beginners. Okay, And let me actually just add a class to this text center like so. Okay, great. And let me also get rid of this console log here. I don't need it. And let's create a few more functions. So I'm gonna have a function called, I will have a footer. So let me just tab, and I'm not gonna have a class, I don't think. And here I'm gonna have this copyright sign. And now to use a JavaScript expression in here, I can't just use it. So I can't say, for example, 2 plus 2, right? This is a string. So if I have a look here, and I don't say it, of course, because I don't have it here, and that I'm getting this help here now for the footer, and so I can just tab and not write it. This is Codium. Okay, so I do hope you guys got it. It does help you. So if I have a look, of course, I just have 2 plus 2 here. This is just a string. So how do I actually have a valid JavaScript expression here? I do it by using curly braces. Okay, now I can have some JavaScript in here. So I'm gonna say new date and get full year. Like so. And there we go. Okay. And actually, yeah, let's have this as a text center as well. Okay. And let's also have a main body here. So function main body. And let's see here. Okay. Actually, let me undo that because I want to keep the parentheses. And here I'm gonna have a P and say learn React and UL Lee and components. Let's shift all down a few times and states, and I can control D to select the whole word. So hooks as well, routing, Redux. Okay, that's enough. Save that to format and include it here. And here it is. Okay, great. And let's now extract these functions into their own files so that they are all separate components. So to do that, and for some reason I have this assets folder here. Let me delete it. Okay. So to do that, in the source folder, I'm going to right click, new file, call this one header.jsx. Okay. And now I'll use that extension for React in VS Code. So I'm going to say RFCE to create a functional export component. And I get this, which is great. Okay. And we don't need this import React. And let's see here, I want this. So let me just copy that whole return, paste it here, like so. And let's move on. So next is main body. And notice here we have exactly the same thing as we did. We just have this export here, right? So anyway, let's move on. What was it, main body? Let me copy that, new file, main body JSX, RFCE. Okay. And this can be arrow functions as well if you want, doesn't make a difference. I prefer this because that's what I get when I create the application here, this app. Okay. But you can use arrow functions if you prefer. Anyway, let me get from main body here this whole return thingy and just paste. Okay. And the footer. So new file, footer, JSX, RFCE. Get rid of this and app footer, this return, like so, okay. And now in app, I am going to get rid of all of these. And I have red squiggles now because I need to import these, right? So I'm gonna click after the last letter and control space, and I get the import here. So do that for each one, okay. And if I have a look now here, let me just F5 to refresh just to make sure there are no errors here. And I get the same thing, but now each component is in its own file, okay. And this app is kind of the parent component, but the main file is this main.jsx because the app is called here, right? Because, for example, if I say here header, let me just import it. So control space and import, have a look here. Now I just get the header component, right? Let me just undo that, have app there as the main component basically. Okay. Let's see now how to use variables, inputs, and inline styling. So here in app, I want to go to header. I can click here, of course, but I can also control click here. Okay, and that takes me to the component. So in here, if I have a const title here, let's say, React for beginners. How do I include it here? Well, the same way as with the date, right? So I just have curly braces here and the title. So now I still have the same result, and if I, let's say 2 here, I get 2 here. So that's how that works. You always use curly braces for JavaScript in JSX, okay? And let's see inputs now. Let me go to control click main body. So after this UL, I'm gonna have a div with mb-3, so margin bottom 3, just a bootstrap class. And in here, I want to have an input. Okay, and I need to close it actually. You always need to close tags in JSX. In HTML, you don't have to, but here you do. So if I don't close it, let's see, I get the red squiggly here, and it says input has no corresponding closing tag, okay? So I can close it either like this or like this. And that goes for components as well. So I forgot to mention that, but actually you can close it like so, but you use this only if you actually have something in here, okay? Otherwise, you just do this, and of course you'll see all of this as we progress through the course. So anyway, back in here, I can have here type text, but I don't have to because it's text by default. Okay, so I'm not gonna do that. So let's say I want to give max length attribute to this input. In HTML, I would say this max length, and for example 5. But because this is JSX, let's see, and yeah, this is a property actually, not an attribute, but anyway, it says here unknown property max length, use max length with a capital L, okay, because this is JSX. So if I use that, let's see, and it does work, okay. And I can also use actually curly braces here for numbers, so this works as well. You can see I can't add any more than 5. So we have that, and let's say I want to have this as read only. So if I say read only, and you can see I get suggestions here, so it's with the capital O actually, as with everything else in JSX. So I actually have it like that, and if I say here true like so, like I would in HTML, let's see, you can see here it's complaining. So it received the string true, although this works, it will not work as expected if you pass the string false. Did you mean this? Okay, so this works, but let me refresh. You can see I can't add anything, but it's not the way to go, and also false wouldn't work as expected. Anyway, the way to do it is by using curly braces like so. Okay, so now let me refresh, and I don't get any errors, and this still works as expected, so I can't add anything. Okay, and the placeholder works the same actually. So something like this, Control S to save in format, and here's the placeholder. Okay. And finally, for inline styling, which can be actually useful sometimes, I'm gonna go to footer here, and after this year, let's have a span inside of the H1 as well, and say React. So let me just see how that looks. Here it is, and let's have a space as well. Okay. So to style this in here, I can just say style and whatever, color red for example. You can see this actually doesn't render anything now. So that's not gonna work. The way it works is we do have style here, but we need to have curly braces here because we want to have JavaScript in here, and then again add an object. Okay, and with properties now. So for example, color red, or let's make this white, and actually go here and give it the background color as well. So it's not gonna work like this. It has to be one word. Okay, because this is a JavaScript object. So it actually works like this. So background color black, let's make that red, color white, and let's say padding, and that's just one word, so it looks the same, and pass 5 pixels like so, save that to format, and that should work. Let's see, and here it is. Okay, so this does look weird, especially if you're new to this, but you get used to it because once you get into the pattern of React, it makes sense. Again, this is JSX, so it has its own way of doing things. Okay. In this video, I will cover props, which is a very important concept in React. So let's first of all add a new component. So I'm going to right click here, new file, call this customer JSX RFC. Okay, and here I'll have a div with a class of row and a div with the class of call-2, and here I'll just have an empty image for now. This is fine. Let me just give it a class name of image fluid, and I don't need the alt here, and I'm just gonna say here image placeholder, and have another one, let's say call7, and here I'm gonna have an ID break, name break, and email break. Okay, and again you need to close the break tags like so, because this isn't going to work. Again, it's going to complain that it has no corresponding closing tag. Okay, so we have this. Let me get rid of this actually, save to format. There we go, and we have the export here, so it's all good. And now to include this, I am going to go to main body, actually not app, and instead of this here, I'm gonna say h2 customers, and include the customer here. So just tap there and control space to add it. And I can include as many as I want. So let's say 3, that's fine. Okay. So if I go now to my page here, F5 to refresh, and here it is. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to actually pass this ID, name, and email here. Okay. And that's props. So I can say here ID, call it anything I want. I'll call it ID. And in curly braces, I'll have this as 1. And name John, and email, let's say john@gmail.com, like so. And let me shift all down this twice, get rid of this one. So this will be 2 and 3. And Jane, whoops, and Bob. Okay, so something like that. And now I want to receive that here. So how do I receive it? I receive it by having that props object here, like so. Props. Okay, so let's just see what happens if I console log this. Let's see what I get. So if I go here, and here it is. Okay, so I actually do get those values as objects. Okay, so you can use it like this, but that's not really how we use it. The way we use it is that we destructure it right here. So we don't use props, we just destructure. So I'm going to say curly braces and ID, name, email. Okay, that's much cleaner because that props object is just that, a basic JavaScript object. Okay, so now here I am going to say, let me just have that like so, ID and ID. Okay, just tab and capital N there, just so it's a bit nicer. So name like so, and email. Okay, and let's see now. And there we go. So ID 1, John, 2, Jane, 3, Bob. Okay, so that's props. Again, when you include a component like so, you can pass props to it, which can be anything. So this is the name, and then the value can be hard-coded or not, depending on what's happening. And you can pass as many of these as you want, and then they are added here or accessible here, that is, as a props object, which you can also destructure and just have it clean like so. Okay. The only issue we have here is that we have these red squiggles here, and that's because, as it says here, because of ESLint, they're missing props validation. Okay, so if we were using TypeScript, we wouldn't have this, but now we do because we are using plain JavaScript. So this isn't really a problem. It's more of a warning, but we don't want to have these red squiggles here or this red file name. So I am going to, for now, hover over this, go to quick fix and disable React prop types for this line. Okay, and now that is fine now. I actually forgot to do one thing, and that's this image right here. So not a big deal, but still. So let me get rid of this image placeholder, and here for source, so this isn't gonna work because this is JSX. So actually, I'm gonna have curly braces here now, and I want to point to a website. I'm gonna use backticks and HTTPS, and that's gonna be /UI-avatars-com-API And let me save this to format and actually be able to see it here. So /API question mark, so this query string here, name equal to, so whatever the name is, okay? Not a big deal, but still I wanted to show you how to add image source. So now if I have a look, I actually get that here, okay? So make sure to understand this code and I'll see you in the next one. We can include components inside of included components using children. Okay, so let's see how to do that. If you search for React icons, you're gonna get this GitHub pages link to React icons, which is a great package. It includes all of these icon packages basically. Okay, so let me install that first. Control J to open up the terminal here. And in this one I have the product running, so I'm gonna click plus here to open a new one. Okay, and I'm gonna say here npm I react-icons. Okay, and now I have access to all of these here. So let's say font awesome. And I know what I want, so I'm just gonna use it, but you can go through it of course. And let's see how to add children first of all. So Control J to hide that. And here in the customer component, I'm gonna also say here children, which is a keyword basically, or a special word. And have a div here and pass children here. Okay, so this is a React thing. We're not, where were we here actually? We're passing our props here, but children is specific to React. Okay, that's why we can just add it like so without actually passing it here as a prop. Okay, but now here where we are including this customer component, I'm actually for these first two gonna, let me just get this back. So close the component like so, okay, not like so. And I'll do the same for this one as well, okay. And for this one I'm gonna leave it as it is. So now in here I can add something. And because of this children here, if there is something, it will render. If there isn't, it simply won't render. So if I have a look here, I still have the exact same thing. Let me just refresh to make sure, and you can see I still have the exact same thing. So if I, let's say here hello, I get hello here in that third div. Okay, let me also give a class of call to it just so it's in a row, and here it is. Okay, so let's include an icon here, which can be anything of course, but let's just include an icon to make it nicer, which will be FA envelope like so. Okay, let me see, and I got that import automatically here. Make sure you have that imported as well, and let's do the same here. Okay, let's have a look, and there we go, we get the icons here now. Okay, in this video I'm gonna get started with the state in React, which is a very important concept in React. It's crucial actually. So what is state? State is simply a value or values that can change, and when they do change, they cause re-rendering of the component. Okay, so let's see what all that means in practice. I'm gonna create a new component here, call it counterJS RFC. Okay, so for this div, I'm gonna give it a class of row and empty-3 for some top margin, and I'll have a div with the class of call in here, let's say h1 counter, that's fine. Let's have this as text center as well. Get rid of this actually. And actually I'll get rid of this. I'll have an h4 here called counter, and the span class name text success and 0. Okay, and a couple of buttons here. So button with btn success and mx-1 plus 1. Shift all down to duplicate, and this will be -1 and danger. Okay. Save to format, and let's include it in the app here. So for example, this one can be counter, like so. Make sure it's included. It is for me important, that is. Get rid of these, and from here as well. And I'm also gonna delete them from here. So footer, header, and main. We don't need them anymore. Okay, so let's see what we have. And what did I just do? I deleted main by mistake. Let me restore that. We definitely don't want to do that. Main body. Okay, get rid of that one. And here it is, but it looks like it doesn't look that good actually. Why? Oh, because of this. Okay, that's better. Let's say now I want this counter to increment and decrement based on these buttons, right? So in React we have different events. So for example, for this button I can specify the onClick event. Okay, so there are many onClick, for example, on submit for forms and so on. So anyway, in here now I have curly braces, and I can specify a function right here, or I can just name it here, which is what I'll do. So I'm gonna say here increase count. Okay, and now I need to create this function. So before I actually create the function, I'm gonna have a let count here. Let's say equal to 10. And now function increase count and count plus plus. Okay, that's fine. I just tap there. And let's also console log this count so that we actually see what we get in the count. And also here, let's say count. Okay. So if I go now to my page here and click +1, I do get 11 here, but this is still 10. So if I keep clicking, it's the same thing. Okay. So why? Because the component doesn't re-render. So of course, this is always whatever we said here. Okay. And this is where state comes in. So when state changes, the component re-renders. Okay. So to actually use state, I'm going to use the useState hook. So it's one of the hooks in React. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to say here const and square brackets and count set count and useState and whatever I want the initial value to be. Let's make it 10. Okay, so first of all, let's import this. So make sure you actually have this import. And the way this works, so first of all, this is a hook, and whenever you have this use, it's a hook. Okay, so use something. And you have the name of the state, whatever it is, and set that name. So you use this to read the value and this to set the value. Okay, so now I still have that count here because I called it count here. So this right here is referring to this right here. Okay, let me actually get rid of this, and I'm gonna get rid of this onClick for now. Let me just refresh here, and you can see here I have 10. Okay, so again, because that's the initial value, so if I say 20 here, I get 20 here. Okay, let me have it as 10, And we have red squiggly here just because this value is never used, or this method that is. But anyway, back to setting the state. So let's again add an on click to this button. Okay, and now I'm gonna actually do it right here because it's a small function, so there's no reason to have this as a separate function up here. And when you define a function like this, you want to use an arrow function. Okay, so you don't just want to do this because it will be called immediately. So let's see. Too many re-renders. Okay, so this is actually an infinite loop, and we certainly don't want that. So we have it as an arrow function, and now it isn't immediately invoked. And you saw just now that because of that loop, because the set count keeps getting called, we have an infinite loop, and it keeps getting called because the component keeps on re-rendering. Okay, so that's what's happening here. And if we have it like this, let me just refresh here to get rid of this, or to actually make sure there are no errors. And now it works. Okay, and also if I, let's say, console log here, let's say component called or something like that. So I get it now here, and on each click I get it again. Okay, so I know for a fact that this component is being re-rendered. Okay, let me get rid of that. And let's also do the same for -1. So I'll just actually copy and paste that, and -1. So let's see what happens now. F5, if I keep clicking here, that's fine. And if I keep clicking here, that works as well. However, even though this works in this instance, it's not really the way to go. When you want to change the value using a set, whatever it is, so the name of the state, you usually use the previous state, okay? Because here, if let's say I rename this to be the name of the function, so let's say handle decrement, okay? And let me specify that up here, so function handle decrement. And exactly this is what I want, so I'm just tabbing, but I want it twice, okay? And let's see what happens. So -1, and I still just get -1, not -2, as I would expect, right? From this. But if I instead say set count, and then in here pass the previous state, so when you call this setter function, you have access to the previous state, which you can call anything, but it's usually called the prev state. So now if I say prev state -1 and shift all down to duplicate, and let me comment this out and refresh just to make sure it's all fresh, -1, and now I get actually -2, okay? So to recap, to use state, you use the useState hook, you set the value here, and you do it like this. That's just the way you do it. So the first item here is the value to be read, and the second one is the method actually that's gonna update the value, okay? And you use that to update the value. You don't update the value directly using this value, okay? So make sure to understand this code, and I'll see you in the next one. And there is a more efficient way of using this state here. So the way it is now, and this is how it's usually used, it gets evaluated on each re-render, but you can also have it be evaluated only on the first render, and then use some logic to change the value later on. which can be useful sometimes. Okay, so instead of doing this, what we can do is have an arrow function like so. So the difference is subtle, but it exists, and it's just to do with efficiency. Okay, and let me get rid of this as well, don't need that. So let's see here. Okay, this still works the same way, so not much difference there. But if I have a new function here and call it, let's say, test state, and if I console log here, let's say set in the state, okay, and return, let's say, 10. So now if let me actually cut and paste this down here so it makes more sense. So if I now use this test state for the initial value of count here, let's see, test state, and call it like so, okay, and refresh. So I get set in the state here, and whenever I do something here, the component re-renders and I see the logs here, right? So still working the same way, but with the function as the value. And let's see if I actually use an arrow function here to set the state. So what's the difference now? Refresh, and you can see that it's called only once. Okay, so I'm using some other logic to update the value, which works, but it's not getting called on each re-render, even though the component is re-rendering. Okay, otherwise we wouldn't see a difference in the value here. So that's the difference, and we will use this in a project, but usually you just do basically this. Okay. Let's see now how to handle objects as state values. So let me get rid of this, and this will now be actually an object. Okay, so here I'm gonna have a title which is gonna say counter, and the count which will be 10. Okay, and here I'm gonna say count title like so, and count. So right now we have the same thing here, but if I click something, it disappears. Okay, why? Because first of all, here we are accessing count and not count, because now it's an object. So if I change that to that, let's see now what happens. Just refresh here. It still doesn't work, and that is because we have an object as the value, so we actually have multiple values. Okay, so instead of this here, I am going to say here handle increment, and then I'll define this function. So here I'm gonna say function handle increment, and let me just, actually I'm not gonna tab here because I'm getting too much stuff. So here I'm gonna say set count previous state, and now I am going to first of all spread the previous state so that I keep whatever is there. Okay, like so, and then count, and the prev state count +1 in this case. Okay, save that. So this is the way it works. When you have multiple values, you need to include the previous state and spread it as well. And this way it will keep everything. So let's see now, F5 to refresh. If I click here, it works. So counter stays here and the actual count increments. Okay, and let's do the same. So copy for handle decrement here, this would just be -1. So let's see, refresh, +1, okay, -1, there we go, okay. Let's see now how to loop through an array in JSX. So for this customer component that I have here, I'm gonna get rid of everything inside the div and this here as well. Okay, and let's just have an array here. Let me tab this, include import useState, that is, and this will actually be an array. So let me just get rid of this and say ID1, and hopefully I get some help. Okay, and email maybe. Okay, let me just type it out. John Gmail, and shift tool down to duplicate, so ID2, and this can be Jack and Jack Gmail. Okay, and now here I'm gonna have a div called shade class, and actually mx auto, so margin left right auto to center it. And here I want to have a component, okay, and this will actually be customers, not customer, plural, like so. So that component right here will be called customer list. So let me create that customer list, JSX RFCE, okay, and so here I want to have that component, so customer list, okay, make sure it gets imported, and I want to pass customers, just like so, so customers and customers, okay, and again this is a prop if you remember, and this can be called anything, but this customers here is this right here, right? And we get this rest quickly here, so we don't even have to really use state. This can just be an array. So let me just make it an array, because having that state doesn't really add anything. So like that, let me get rid of that useState. And now in here, get rid of that, and we'll take that prop, customers, and now loop through it. So in JSX here we can't use a for each, for example, we use map, okay. So let me actually have a table here, like so, and give it a class of table as well, just for some styling. The head, and when using Codium or any AI, I guess it's really not a chore to write all this. Like if I wasn't using Codium now, this would be a chore. I'm not sure I would actually have a table here, but with Codium it's really not a problem. Okay, let me get rid of this here and see what I want here. So I want to have an ID, name, email. There's a T head, and now the T body. Let me just close it first of all. Okay, like so. So now we use map to loop. Okay, so I'm just gonna tab here and tab here as well, I guess. And there's a problem here for some reason. Let's see, is missing improper validation. Okay, so let's just quick fix and disable that. Actually, let's disable for the entire file. Okay, like so. And there's a better way of doing this, but maybe you just want to do this if you don't care. I'll just have it like that for now. Okay, so anyway, in here we are using curly braces so that we can actually do JavaScript, and we are simply mapping. Okay, so we use map to loop in JSX. That's what we do. And this key here, so whenever you loop, that element should have a key, a unique key. So if I don't have it, this should work. Let me see, go here, refresh, and we still have this for some reason, because in app, I guess, okay, we have counter instead of customer now. So customer, get rid of counter, and here we go. Okay, so this works, but you can see here that we have a warning, so each child in a list should have a unique key prop. So if we have an ID like we do here, we can use that, or we can have index here as well, and let's use that. Okay, let me refresh. So now we get the same thing, but no console error. Okay, so once again, this is of course JSX in the return, and we use map in JSX to loop through collections. Okay. Now let's see now how to actually add customers to this array. So first of all, because I want to modify this array, I can't have it like this. I need to have it as a state value. Okay. So let me just copy this array just in case and get rid of this const customers useState. Okay, and let me just paste that in here, import this, control space import. Okay, great. So here, let me refresh, we still see the same thing, it's all good. And now let me create a new component. So I'm gonna right click, new file, add customer JSX. And by the way, this is red here now when we have a squiggly because we're not using this. But we will use it, so I'm not gonna make this red squiggly go away. Okay, let it just be there for now. So anyway, in here, RFC, and this is good. So I want to set the ID, name, and email. Okay, so I'm gonna have states for that. I'm gonna say here const and ID, set ID useState. Okay, but it's gonna be an empty string. And name, okay, great. And let me just tab here and get the email. Okay, so this is what I want. And for the return here, I'm gonna have a class call6 Amex auto text center. Get rid of this. I'm gonna have an h1, let's say add customer. Let's just give it a bit of top margin, MT3. Okay. And now I'll have a form, and let me actually tab here, and I don't want all this, so just close this div. Okay, this is fine for some bottom margin or padding actually in this case. And let's have a label here, and when I tab, you see I get HTML4, not just 4. Because 4 is a reserved JavaScript keyword, so in JSX we actually use HTML4 for this. And let's say ID, and now here I'm gonna say here ID, and then have an input type text. This can be a number as well, but let it be text, doesn't really make a difference. So because it's text, I'm not gonna specify type again. Class name. Let me actually tab this because I do want the class name of form control. It's a bootstrap class. And what else do I want? Let's specify the ID, even though we don't really need it, but because of this, I guess, might as well have it. Value we don't need, but this is how you set the value. So value and the state value, so nothing surprising here. But we don't need that, but I do want is the event. So we had on click, and now I don't want on click, I want on change. Okay, so that's another event, like so. And in here, I'm gonna have an arrow function, and I want to pass the event. So set ID here is fine, that's what I want, but here I want to pass the event, so E. Okay. And here, to get the value of this input, so whatever the value is, you do target value. Okay, save that to format, and this is how you do it. So on change, whenever we type, we're gonna be setting the ID to target value. Okay, and now let me shift all down this twice. So for email, now email, and this can be a text as well, doesn't have to be email. So ID email, and here as well, and set email here. Okay, and was the last one, actually that was supposed to be a name. Okay, let's just have a name here and then just switch it around. So ID name and set name. Okay, let me just cut and paste that like so, and finally have a button, let's say btn primary and add. Okay, and let's see how this looks. Let's actually add it first of all to customers here, maybe above here. So add customer, control space to import, and let's see, F5 to refresh. Okay, there's a bit of a problem. useState is not defined in AddCustomer. Okay, control space import that. Let's see now, refresh. Okay, it's all good. So this is fine as far as styling goes, it's decent. And now to handle the form submission. So we don't want to have on click here now for the button, because when the button is clicked, the form will be submitted automatically. So actually I'm gonna have here another event on submit. Okay, so on submit the form, and for that I'm gonna specify the function here. I'm gonna call it handle submit. Okay, great. So now let's have that function here, function handle submit. And notice here that we do get access to the event here, okay? Even though here we are just defining the function or specifying the function, that is. So we still do have this C. So I can say prevent default, which I'm not getting any help for some reason, but let me just do that. And for now, let's just console log the state values and see what we get. Okay. So now here, if I say here 5 and let's say Jill and Jill gmail.com add, and we do get our values here. So that's great. So now to actually add this to the state, let me comment out this console log. Here in customer, where we are including the component, I'm gonna pass the setter. Okay. So I'm gonna say here set customers equal to set customers, and this works fine. So even though the state is in here, I can pass that setter method here and use it in AddCustomer, and that will update the state here, the customers. Okay, so it works just like that. That's fine. Let me just move this to the left, is what I wanted to do. And let me actually close this component, we don't need it. So now in AddCustomer here, and let me get rid of this React as well, don't need that. We get that set customers method here, and we can simply use it and again update the state in the parent component. That's fine. Okay, it works. So here, instead of console login, I'm going to say set customers. Okay, and let me just tab, because this is what I want and what we've seen already. So just save to format. And this is an array now, so I'm passing array here, or returning, that is. And we are passing whatever we had, so spreading the previous values. And It's called productCustomers here. Again, as I said before, this can be called anything. It's always the previous value. So spreading that and then setting the new values. Okay. And this should simply work. And let me import this because I removed it for some reason. And that should actually work. So let's see F5 here just to make sure it's all good. It is. So let's say again 5 and Jill Gmail add, and there we go. Okay, great. So let's say 6 and Jane here, just enter, and there we go. Okay. So again, now let me actually see what, oh yeah, we have the, let me just disable that so we don't see it. So again, even though the state is here, we can pass the setter to any component. So AddCustomer, use it here, and still the state value that's in this component gets updated. Okay, so it's all connected like that when using props. Make sure to understand this code, and I'll see you in the next one. Let's see now how to use if and else if in JSX. So first of all, in customer component here, I'm gonna add another field here, say subscribed, and let's say true, and subscribed false for the second person or customer. And here, when adding a customer, I'm gonna say subscribed, let's say true or false. Doesn't really make a difference, just something to have as well. And now in customer list, to actually see that here, okay, so I'm gonna have a TD, and let me actually have a TH here that's gonna say subscribed, like so. So in here, let's see how to use if first. So we can't use if and else if in JSX, okay? So what we do is curly braces first of all for JavaScript, and this is if else actually. So we use the ternary for if else. So I just tap there, okay? And let's see, so subscribed, yes, no, okay, let's say ID, whatever, John, doesn't make a difference, John Gmail add, subscribe, no, okay. So this is if else, so the ternary, and let me keep actually both, so let me also have just if as well. And for if, we use and. Okay, so customer subscribed and yes, in this case. So if the customer is subscribed, we want to print out yes. So and is used for if, and the ternary is used for if else. Okay, so if we have a look here, subscribed, if else yes, if yes, okay. So the way this works is, this is just JavaScript, so hopefully you know this, but if you don't, this is evaluated first. If it's true, then we get whatever we have here, okay. In this video, I'm going to cover the useEffect hook, but before that, I'm going to change this component to counter, okay. And let me try to import it, Control space, it's not working, so let me say here import, and hopefully Codium will help me. Let's see, there it is, okay. And I also want to pass a number to this component, so I'm gonna say here const number, and hopefully I get the rest. Let's see, here it is, so number set number, useState 0, 0 is fine. And Control space here to import, and there we go. Okay, so now here I'm gonna pass that as props, so pass number and set number. Save to format and control click to go to the component and receive those props here. So here I'm gonna say number and I want set number as well. Okay, that's good. And let me use that in these increment and decrement functions. So let me say here set number, but not number plus 1. I don't want that. I want to get the count. So let me use it like so without the previous value, right? So I'm doing this directly here. And copy and paste that here as well for decrement, and I want to display that here. Okay, so I'm gonna have a P here with the span of text bg primary, and I'll say here you clicked number times. Okay, let's see what we have here. So we have this. Let me just refresh to make sure there are no errors. And let's just give it a bit of padding. So P2, and there we go. Okay, great. Let me also have this as 0, just so they match here and here. Okay, so what I'm doing now here is I'm using this set number to change the value, but without the previous state. So let's see what happens. If I click plus, and you can see I do get 1 here, of course, but this is still 0. And if I click 1 now this is 1, this is 2, and so on. Okay, same thing goes for -1, just the other way around. And that's because I'm not using previous state here. So if I actually change this to this, and let me copy and paste here as well. So -1 here is the difference. And go back here, let me just refresh. So now if I click plus, it's fine. Okay, these are the same values, so that would work. But also we can use useEffect here, for example. So to use useEffect, I'm gonna say useEffect here, enter, and I get the input here, so make sure to get that. And let me just tap here and get rid of everything. Okay. So what's the point of this useEffect? And by the way, it's a hook because it has this use, but that's not so important. The important thing is that you can have code in here that runs based on some criteria. So if you have the useEffect just like so, this would run on every render of the component. Okay, so now in here, I can actually say set number and use count now. So without the previous state. Let me comment this out like so. And let's see what happens. So let me just refresh. If I click OK, you can see it's synced. So these and these are the same. And that is because this runs on each render of the component. Okay? And this isn't usually something you want. Let me say here, actually maybe up here, runs on each render. Okay, and let me shift all down this and just comment this out. Also, you can have as many of these as you want. It's not a problem, but I want to modify the same thing, this count. So that's why I'm gonna comment this out. And let me actually put that comment here. Let me just see how that looks. Get rid of it there, and yeah, okay. So, and that's fine, but I do want to comment it out. So that's one way, and another way is to pass a second argument here, which is an array. Okay, so it can be empty or not. If it's empty, then this will run the first time only. Okay, so let me just refresh here, and if I click plus, you can see that the counter changes, but this is always 0, because this code runs only once, because this is an empty array. Okay, but also what we can do is we can pass values to this that we want to watch for changes. And when those values change, then this kicks in. So I can actually say here count and set number. And now I don't have that yellow squiggly anymore. If you noticed, so now I do have it, and you can see that it has missing dependencies. So you can think of them as dependencies as well. So whatever you have here, you should pass here as dependencies if you want to watch for that change, which you usually do. So now if I refresh here and click, I get the exact same thing that I got with this code here, but the difference is that this is much more efficient because this will run only when these change. Okay? So that's the difference. And the final thing is that we can return an arrow function here, and this will get triggered when the component unmounts. Okay, so maybe you want to clean up something or something like that, you can do it this way. So what I'll do is I'm gonna set the document title here and say component mounted. Okay, like so. And when the component unmounts, let me actually copy paste. Let me say here component unmounted, like so. So now if I refresh, I click around, this is always component mounted because I am never unmounting the component, it's always here. So to actually unmount it, I'm gonna go to app, and here I'm gonna wrap this in curly braces, like so. And I'm gonna say here number is less than 5, and so that's our if in React. So if number is less than 5, I get this, otherwise I don't. Let's see now. If I refresh, click once, twice, 3, 4, and now 5, it disappears, and notice here I get the new title, component unmounted. Okay? So to recap, and actually let me just quick fix this so I don't get the red squiggles. So to recap, useEffect runs based on whatever you specify here. So if it's nothing, just like so, this runs on every render, which isn't usually what you want. If you have it as an empty array here, it runs only the first time. You can also watch for changes, which is what you do most of the time. And then when these change, the dependencies, this whole thing will kick in. And also you can return an arrow function, which will get triggered on component unmount. Okay? In this video, I'm going to get started with routing, but first of all, I'm actually going to get rid of all of these components here. Okay, so I just have my main JSX here, and let me create a new component called header, and also home, and what else? Let's have products and product and details JSX. Okay, that should do it. Let's just RFCE each one, like so, and this one, okay, and this one. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to the Bootstrap website right here and search for nav here, and I'm just gonna click this one and find the first one, which is, I guess this one is fine. So let me copy that and go to header. Let me actually find a simpler one. I don't want the drop down and all that, just as simple as it gets, which is this one right here is much smaller. So just copy that one, and here let's paste that and save to format. So this is good, but we need to change the classes to class names, right? So I'm going to Control F and say class here in VS Code and replace with class name, and click here to replace all. There we go, and now it's fine. And this pre-tier really helps, so it would be red here if there was a problem, so it's really handy to have it. Anyway, I don't want this home here because this should point to home. Let's say here React, and this can be products, and okay, I got this for some reason. Let me just shift all down. So products as well, product details, and that's it, I believe. Let's have this one. We need one that doesn't work and get this one, remove it. Okay, so that should do it. And let's also create a not found. Okay, great. Just RFC this, and there we go. So now if I go here, of course I don't have anything in my main, so Control P in VS Code and main. I don't have app anymore, so get rid of that. I'm gonna have actually the header here. Let's import it like so. Let's see now, and here it is. Okay, this is good, but I want to see the menu. So if I say SM here, there it is now. Okay, great. That's it for the setup. Let's continue in the next video. Now to actually use routing, we need to install a package actually. So let me Control J here and go to my this terminal that's not running the app, and I'm gonna say here npm I and react-router-dom. Okay, and that does it. So now I'm gonna go to main, and let me just close everything else. So in here now we actually need to wrap this whole thing in browser router. Okay, and I'm missing the closing thingy here, like so. And now we have everything in here actually. So this header, for example, and make sure to get this import as well. And I'm actually gonna have a container div in here just so that I have a parent element for all of this here. So I'm gonna have the header, and then I'm gonna have routes. Okay, so routes component, and enter to import like so. And now individual routes in here with this route component. So I'm just gonna tap here actually, and let me Control space to import this. Okay, so we have this route component which takes a path here. So this for example points to home or to the root domain, and then element and the component name. So let me Control space here, and I don't have the import, so let me try here import, and great, there it is. Okay, so this is a bit weird, but it's how it is. So it's element and then the component name. That's how it is. Let me duplicate that, and this can be, let's see, products, and products here. Let's see if I can get it. I can't, so let me import here. Okay, so let's see what we have here. This still works, and notice now we get home here. Okay, because we are at the root. So that works, and let me go to header, Control click here. Let me change this href to point to home, and products to point to /products, and here we have /products. Okay, and these ones are fine for now. So here now if I click products, I do go to products, if I click React, so home basically, I go home. This is good, but the problem is, notice here that the page refreshes, okay, and we don't want the page to refresh. So to have it not refresh, you don't use actually A's here, you use the link component. So I'm gonna say here link, like so, get the import here as well. And now this href should be 2. Okay, so this is how we do it. And let me just do the same thing here. So 2, okay. And now if I click products, I go to the products component, but notice here there's no page refresh, okay. Let me also add links for these as well, even though we don't have them in the router still, but we will. So this will be /products/details and 2, and this one won't exist as a component, so this can be anything, but pricing is fine, /pricing and a link here. Okay. So now here, to get to product details, we can duplicate this route and say here product/details, right? And product details. The imports aren't working for some reason, so let me do this. Okay, so this should work. Let's see, product details. There we go. But both of these have this /products here. Okay, so we can actually nest these. So to do that, I am going to have a new route here, and then say its path is /products, and it's not gonna take an element, okay? And then I'm gonna have these two in here, so we can do that as well. And now, because I actually want this one to be /products, it's gonna be actually an empty string, okay? So that means that this path is actually this. And for this path, because we have /products here, I just need to have details here without the /. So this should work the exact same way, but it's a bit neater. And now let's test this. So if you go to product details, here we go, products, okay, React home, it's all good, okay. And finally, for the catch-all route, this one that doesn't exist, so if I click it, I get this, no routes matching location, okay. For that, we can have a catch-all route, which is this right here. So path is this star and then whatever element. So let me import, okay, save that, let's see now. So I go home, products, details, okay, pricing, and I get the not found component, okay. Make sure to understand this code, and I'll see you in the next one. Let's see now how to use the useParams and useSearchParams hooks. So here in our routes, we can have variable segments. Okay, so for example, for this details, I can say a colon name, for example, and the / let's say colon ID. Okay. So now I can access these in my component. So if I go to product details, control click it, here I can say const and this structure here, so name and ID, and that's gonna be equal to useParams. Okay, make sure to get this import, and now that should be here. So let me just have this as h1, for example, like so, and p here, say name and name, and PID ID. Okay, great. And get rid of this semicolon here. Save to format. Okay. So now here, let me refresh. If I go to product details, I actually get not found. Okay, so this works, but this is not found. And that is because we are supposed to also have these, where are they, segments right here. Okay, and these can be optional as well. Okay, so I can have a question mark here and here, for example, and now this works, even though of course I don't get anything. But if I do have something, so I can either have it in the header here, or I can just add it here myself. So let's say apples/4 or whatever. Okay, and now I get name apples ID 4. Okay, and for query strings we use the useSearchParams hook. So for that I'm gonna go to products here, just so I don't clutter up the one component too much. And let me say here h1 products, like so. Again, I have this semicolon. And now here I'm gonna say let, and this structure array. Okay, so search params, and that's gonna be equal to useSearchParams, like so. So again, make sure to get the import here, and to get these from the query string, I'm gonna say const, let's say p for page, and search params get and whatever it is. Okay, so p. Let's also get, for example, the color, like so. And now here I can say p. Okay, this is actually great. I'm just gonna change this to page. Save to format, and there we go. So now if I go to products, I don't see anything, but if I add the query string here, so if I say p equals 3, I get 3 here. Okay, if I also add the color to this, so color equals, let's say, red, here it is. Okay, so once again, useSearchParams is used to get the query string values, and useParams is used to get the URL segments. Okay, let's see now how to use the useNavigate hook and also NavLink. So we use the useNavigate hook to navigate from within a component. So let's say I'm in products here. I'm gonna say here const, call this navigate or whatever, but usually it's navigate, equal to useNavigate. Okay, so make sure to import it. And now I can, let's say, have a BR here, and I can have a button, btn primary, and let's say apples here or whatever. So on click here, I can actually, and let me just tab here, so we have an arrow function here that we are invoking when we click. So this navigate we're using here, that we defined here, and whatever the URL is. Okay, so I can say here, let's say /apples/4, and this is supposed to be actually /product/details, I believe. Save that, there we go. And let's see, so here is apples, and if I click, I go to that other URL. Okay, great. So that's useNavigate, it's very useful. And finally, I want to show you NavLink. So that's very similar to link, let's see here, but the difference is that it gives you an active class when you click it. So let me say here NavLink. Import it, actually not that, but this from React Router DOM. Okay, and we don't actually need link anymore. Everything is gonna be NavLink. So paste that, and that. Okay, so notice now, let me just refresh. If I, let's say, click, and it's black now here, but it's kind of hard to see, but this actually has an active class. Let me click pricing. So you can see now this is darker than these two, and if I right click inspect, it actually has this active class. And if I click product details, for example, it gets active class now. and this one doesn't have it anymore. Okay. So that's actually pretty useful, but we have a bit of an issue here that if I click products, for example, it's fine, but if I click product details, both of these get the active class because of their route, right? They both start with /products. Here it is as well, so both of these. And we can fix that by adding end here to this NavLink. That should do it. Let's see, let me just refresh. So if I click products, it's just that. If I clicked product details, it's just that. Okay, great. In this video, I'm going to get started with Redux. But first of all, let's remove all of these components we don't need. So this and this and this and this and this. Delete those. Go to main and here get rid of everything inside of the div here. And the browser router as well. Let me just say hello here or whatever. And remove these imports. Okay, let's have a look here. And there we go. Okay, so I just want to mention one more thing actually, and that's that this React Bootstrap package exists, which is used to basically use Bootstrap as components in React. Okay, so I don't really use this, I prefer to use it normally, but this exists if it's something you want to check out, and I just wanted to mention that. Okay, so on to Redux. Here I am on the Redux Toolkit website actually. So what is Redux Toolkit? It's an official opinionated toolset for efficient Redux development. Okay, so it just gives you things out of the box and it's the way to go basically. So what is Redux itself? It's used to manage centralized state. So we can have state in one place in our application and then access it in any component. Okay. And besides that, there's also this RTK query. Let's see. It says here RTK query is a powerful data fetching and caching tool. It's basically used to interact with the database, and I'm not gonna use it for this part of the course, but I will use it of course later on in the projects. But for now, I will just be using regular Redux functionality. So let's go to getting started and let's see down here what we need. Okay, so we need this and this. So let me just copy this and go Ctrl J to my terminal here and say npm I paste that and also React Redux. So copy and paste with right click. Okay, there we go. And now in my source folder, I'm going to create a new file and call it store. So it's a JS file, and when using Redux, we always have this store. And actually you can have multiple stores, but one per application is recommended. So here I'm going to say export const store, and that's going to be equal to configure store. Make sure to get this import as well. Let me just tab here. And we have this reducer here, and I'll get into that in a bit. For now, this is what you simply have to have. And also in main now, we need to wrap our application in that store. So here I'm going to say provider store. Okay, and let me end that provider here. And this didn't get imported for some reason, so Control Space, React Redux, and store as well. Okay, save to format, and this is how you set up store with Redux. And now I'm going to create what's called a slice, and I'm going to have that in the source folder and create a new folder actually called slices, just to be more organized. And in here I'm going to create a file called counterSlice.js. Okay, so what are these slices? These are pieces of the store that hold specific states. So in here I'm going to say const initial state and set that to something. So let's say an object with a count of 0. Okay. And now to create a slice, I'm gonna say const, call it counterSlice, and that's gonna be equal to create slice. Import that from Redux.js toolkit, and let me just tab here actually, and we'll get rid of these methods here, and just have this. Okay. And we also need to actually export this, so let me tab here, but I'm also going to say .reducer right here. Okay, great. So when we create a slice, we have this name, which isn't that important. We have the initial state, and we have these reducers. So for the reducers, I'm not going to actually use them now, but these are actions that we use to manipulate the state. Okay. They are called reducers, and that's simply how it is. And in the store, we have this reducer, and this is where we actually add the slices. Okay. So here I can say counter, for example, or call this anything, and I can then assign this counterSlice to it. I'm actually just going to say counterSlice here and import that like so. Let me get rid of the comment here. And now by doing that, if I go to my application here, let me just refresh. And if I go to Redux right here, which hopefully you have as well, and you can see here I am at the state tab, and I have my counter here with its value. Okay. And if I change the name here to AAA, for example, here it is, counter AAA. Okay. So the name is whatever the key is here for the property, and not this name right here. Okay. So now we actually want to be able to use this state somewhere, right? So how do we do that? Let's first of all create a component. I'm going to create a new component, call it counter RFC. Let me have an h1, for example, that says counter. And then now here I want to access that count somehow. So to do that, I'm going to use the useSelector hook. Okay. So I'm going to say here const and call it count, for example, and say useSelector. And I get the import, and let me just tab here. So we pass the state here as the argument, and then drill down to the value. So state counter, which is this right here, the key, and whatever the value is, whatever we called it. Okay. So again, in this case, we have this object with this count property, right? And now I'm actually able to simply use it like so. So we don't need any special imports other than the useSelector import. And if I go here now, I don't see anything because I don't have it in here. So let me say here counter like so, control space, here it is. And here we go, counter 0. Okay, let me just give it a class of text center and maybe some top margin as well. Okay, great. Let's see now how to use these reducers here or actions. Okay, so we can have some methods here that manipulate the state we have in this slice. So I'm gonna say here, let's say increment, and let me just tab actually, get rid of this reset and the actions comment. So we have these methods here to which we pass the state, which is whatever the state is at that moment, and then we can manipulate it. Okay, and because Redux toolkit allows mutable logic, we can modify that state here directly like so. We don't need to get the previous state. This works as it should. So we have this increment method and decrement method. So we also need to export them. Okay, I'm going to say here export, and let me just tab actually. So export const the actions here, the actions, and then counterSlice and actions as well. Okay, so this is how we actually export. And now we can use that in our component. So to use it right here, I am going to first of all have a couple of buttons here. Let's say class name, btm primary, plus and minus. This will be danger, and actually mx1 for some margin left and right as well. And here let me just say text center. So let's see what we have. Okay. And now to use those actions, here I'm gonna say const dispatch, okay, and useDispatch. So we use the useDispatch hook for that, and control space to import. And now I can dispatch these actions that I've exported here, okay. So I'm gonna say here on click, and let me just tab and space to see the whole thing. So on click, arrow function, dispatch, and the name of the action. So I mean the action itself, which is increment in our case, and invoke it as well. Okay, and I got the import here. So make sure to get the import as well. And the same thing for this one. So on click, and dispatch decrement, I need to import it. Okay, save to format, and there we go. So this should actually work. Let's see if it does. If I click plus, and it works fine. Okay. So again, to recap, in our slice, we define our actions here in the reducers, then we export them, and we can use them anywhere in the application, but we need to use the useDispatch hook. Okay. Let's see now how to send some data using this dispatch right here. So to do that, first of all, I'm going to have a state here. I'm going to say const and start value. Let's see, I'm waiting for some help here. There we go. And import this, and this can be 10, okay, to begin with. And then after this h1, I'm gonna have an input, and we don't need type text because we do want it to be text, so its value will be the start value. And let me just tab because this is exactly what I want. So on change, I want to simply set the start value to whatever the value is, which I get by using target value, as we already know, right? So let's just see that here. There we go. Here it is. And now I want to send this start value to increment and decrement. So here I'm gonna say start value, and here as well. And now in the slice, to actually receive that, we pass action here as well, okay? And we actually access it by using action payload. So what we are sending is actually the payload, and that's how we do it. So here as well, action, and minus action payload. Okay, so now let me just refresh and open the console here just in case I have a problem. And now you can see that this increments by 10 and decrements by 10 as well. And if I, let's say 20 now, it does this because we need to specify it's a number right here. Let me just do it. Just cast it like so. So that should hopefully fix it. Let me see if I say 20 now. It does. Okay, let me say number here as well. And once again, so 10 is the default, but if I say, let's say 30 now, it goes up by 30 and down by 30 as well. Okay. Let's have some more practice with Redux. I'm gonna create a new slice here. Call it productSlice, like so. And let me actually copy from counterSlice, so I don't need to retype everything. So this will be productSlice, and the state will be an object with products as an array. Okay. So here let me tab this, and this can be apples, and let's say category can be fruit. Shift all down this twice, so ID 1, 2, 3, and this can be bananas, fruit, and 3 is blue shirt or whatever, and category shirts. Okay. Let me get rid of the reducers here, or the actions, and copy and actually paste here for the export. This one I don't need right now. So just like so. And actually here, this will be called product. And now Control P to jump to file, so the store file, and add that here, so product. And productSlice, Control space import, and there we go. Again, if I go to my Redux here it is, okay, my new state. So now let's create a new component and call it products, just so we'll loop through this product. So RFC and H1 products here, like so. This will also be text center. And now to map, actually to first get the products, let's say here const products, and that's gonna be equal to useSelector, right? And let me just tab, so this is correct state and state product products. So now we can loop through it here, and I will just tab here actually and see what to get. So this is fine. Let me give it a class as well of empty2 just for a bit of top margin. And we get a name here, and I also want to have a link here for details, which will be actually just a button with btn info, let's say, and say details here. Okay. And now let's Control P, jump to main, and add products here. Control space to import, and let's see, and there we go. Okay. Let's also give it a bit of top margin as well. So something like that. Okay, great. And let's now handle this details button. So what I want is when I click it to go to a component that's gonna show specific product info. Okay. So to do that, first of all, in the productSlice, I'm gonna add something else to the initial state, which will be called selected product. And that's gonna be null to begin with. And I'm also gonna add an action here. And let me just tab because this is what I want exactly. Okay. So state and action. And I want to set the selected product to whatever the payload is, which will actually be a product, so an object that we get here in the loop, right? Okay, and we need to export it as well, so just tab. This is great. Imagine having to type all this out, so I really do hope you guys are using Codium or some other AI as well. Okay, anyway, let me now go to products, and here I'm gonna say on click, and here I want to dispatch that action, right? So let me just tab here, whatever this is, I don't care. But here I'm gonna say const dispatch, and that's gonna be equal to useDispatch, like so. And I didn't get the import, so control space, there we go. And now here, get rid of this, and I'm gonna say dispatch, and the tab and save, get rid of this here, and that's gonna be select product from slices productSlice. Okay, great. And I'm passing the product here, so that's the payload, right? So again, this product we are passing here and receiving it. Let me close this counterSlice. Receiving it here in the action payload, that is, okay? And we are setting that to selected product. So first of all, it's gonna be null, but when we actually click the button, it's gonna be whatever the payload is, which in turn is whatever product we have here. Okay, so we do have that here, but we have no way of displaying this. So let's create a new component and call that productDetails. JSX, okay, RFC. So here I want to get that selected product. So I'm gonna say const, and let me just tab because this is exactly what I want. Just import this, so useSelector, state product, selected product, right? And then first of all, I want to check if it's null, which it is when the component first loads. So if not product, I'm gonna return nh4 and say select the product, okay? And maybe give it a bit of top margin here. Let me just close this like so, okay? But if we do have a product selected, then we are here. So let me say text center here, and let's say have an h5 here, and ID, so product ID, great, and this will be the name, product name, so name, and let's see if I get for category, and I do, great. So category, product category, let me save so it gets formatted, then these parentheses get added as well, and this looks good to me. Let's see if it actually works. So, and add it actually to main as well. Forgot that. So product details and import, there we go. So select a product and it's not centered for whatever reason. Now let me give it a class of call as well. Okay, that's not gonna do it. Let me get rid of this and just give this container a class of text center, and that does it finally. Okay, so first of all, we have this select a product, and let me actually just open the console here in case there are any errors, because the product is null, right? The selected product, that is null. But if I click something, there we go. ID 1 apples, fruit, bananas, blue shirt. Yeah, okay, great. It's possible that when we invoke a reducer or an action from a slice, that something happens in another slice. So let's see what I mean. Here I want to have a reset button up here that resets this product. Okay, so if I choose something, let's say blue shirt, I want to be able to reset it back to null. Okay, so to do that in productSlice here, I am going to say reset product like so. Let's see, I'm waiting for some help here. And this is exactly what I want. Okay, so let's export that action as well. And this is just very simple, nothing special here. Just resetting this back to null. Okay. And now let's create a component for that. So new file and I'm gonna call it reset app.jsx rfc here, and let me go to products and just copy this button actually, so I don't need to type it out. Okay, save to format, and this will be danger, and this will say reset app, and I will dispatch reset product like so. So I got the import, get rid of the payload here, and we need to add the dispatch, so const dispatch, use dispatch and import. Okay, so this looks great. Let's go to main, so control P, main, and add that here, reset app like so, control space to add it, and there we go. So let's see what happens if I, let's say, choose apples here. I see them here. If I click reset, okay, I get select the product. So that's great, but I also want to reset the counter. Okay, and to do that, actually before I do that, let me go to the counter component here, and instead of casting to number here, I'm gonna do it here. So actually I do it only once, which is just better code, not a big deal in this case, but why not have better code? So let me get rid of this. Okay, let me see just if this actually works still. So this is fine, but if I, let's say 30 here, okay, great. So again, I want to reset the counter as well when I click this. So to do that, I'm gonna go actually to my counterSlice here, and after reducers, I'm gonna say extraReducers like so. Okay, and here I'm actually gonna have an arrow function and pass builder like so. Okay, and now here I'm gonna say builder and add case, and now here I can specify the slice and action I want to basically watch for. So that's gonna be product slash reset product, right? So whatever we had here, exactly this. And after that, I'm gonna have an arrow function here as a second argument with the state. Okay, so this state now is this state from this slice. So I can do something with this state when that other action is invoked. So I'm gonna say state count 0 and save that, and let's see if this actually works. So choose bananas and counter is, let's say, 80 or whatever, reset, and there we go, guys. This is 0 as well. Now it gets reset. And this is a case here where the name actually matters from the slides here. ProductSlice, let's see this name here, because if I change this to 222, this isn't actually going to work. Let me just refresh and do that reset. It's not working, okay? And that's because, let me go to counterSlice actually, of this here, but if I change this to 222, it does work. Let me see. Okay, reset, and it works. Okay, so let me just undo that, and the name here as well, just undo that. Okay, so we can do that, but also we can make it a bit better. Instead of hard coding the string here, and we can actually import that reducer or action. So let me just shift all down this so I keep it there for your convenience, and here I'm gonna actually leave that comma. So for the first argument it's gonna be reset product. Okay, there it is, so from productSlice, and that should actually do the same thing, but it's cleaner. So let's see if it actually does. Refresh just to make sure it's all good, and click this and apples, reset, and there we go. Okay. We can also have global actions that we invoke using extraReducers. So let's do the same thing we just did, but that way. So in source here, I'm going to create a new file, call it actions.js, okay? And I'm going to say export const reset all. And that's going to be equal to create action from Redux.js toolkit, okay? So this is fine. And now in my reset app here, that's the one I want to invoke. So I'm gonna say here reset all, like so. And get rid of this reset product. And now in my counterSlice, and I'll get rid of this line now. This will be reset all from actions, like so. And let me copy, actually let me see, okay, I need to get rid of this. And in productSlice, let me paste and just this for the state. Okay, so control space, and I'm not getting it, so let me just do it here, import reset all from actions. Okay, and that should do the same thing. So let's see, refresh just in case, and do that here, choose something here, reset app, and there we go. Okay. So guys, this is more or less the whole of React plus Redux, so not that much to it actually. Make sure to understand everything from this part of the course, and then we can get to building projects.